All right, hello and welcome to Direct-to-Consumer Wine Workshops Consultant Network webinar series. Today we have the pleasure of introducing you to consultant Janet Majors as she presents best practices around online and in-person wine marketing. And a quick introduction to the Direct-to-Consumer Consultant Network. My name is Sandra Hess. I am the founder of DTC Wine Workshops, and we recently launched the Consultant Network to support wineries nationally in 8 different areas around direct-to-consumer sales, marketing, and customer retention processes. And the purpose of the network is to really, on a project-by-project, help strengthen wineries as they're growing and building new direct-to-consumer sales divisions. And so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Janet Majors. Janet really brings just a wealth of knowledge to the table with an impressive background in digital strategy, social media, and content development. Before working within the wine space, she supported companies and digital marketing programs for groups like Polyvision, as well as Sun Microsystems, Cisco, and Apple. So very exciting career path for her as she moved into the wine space in 2004. She's been a part of guest relations at Pine Ridge Winery. She's also helped with CRM, segmentation, and as you'll see here within her bio, she also has done quite a bit of work with Catalyst Wine Group as a co-founder and partner, and which is a digital agency that developed direct-to-consumer campaigns and social content for small wineries to increase social and e-commerce experiences. And we're really honored to have Janet as a part of the Direct-to-Consumer Consultant Network, and we hope that you enjoy today's presentation. Just a few housekeeping items as we get started. You all have been muted for the presentation, but we encourage you to add your questions into the chat menu, as there will be a 5-minute Q&A period at the end. And again, the recorded version of today's presentation will be available in our blog page as well as all social media outlets. So enjoy today's presentation, and again, thank you for attending. And Janet, it is now all yours.
Thank you, Sandra. All right, let's talk about the keys to engagement. There are several key features here, and probably the most important one to understand is that at the core of everything, we are all customers, and we really need to put ourselves as marketers in their shoes. It's our job to create an environment that the consumer wants to be in. So it's very key to understand your customers as individuals and to communicate with them where they search and interact and when they are online. We want no market speak in any of these conversations, yet we want to be clear and really speak from the heart. We want to have a directed call to action and measurable impact for every piece of information, because it's our job to really pass on relevant information and create value with our product in the minds of the customer. And lastly, it's very important to really have consistent messaging across digital channels and in-person conversations, because they're so interconnected. And we really want to create a united front. So that's being said, let's go on to the next page and talk about in-person marketing. Move on to the function of digital channels. One of the best quotes that I've heard so far comes from the Content Marketing Institute, where they say, storytelling is an essential human activity, and it's a cornerstone of every social strategy. I can't think of a better place to say that. And what we're going to be really talking about is how social allows us to extend the handshake that we do in real life and turn it into a relationship by really holding it and earning the customer's attention. So I've broken down the digital channels in 3 parts: website and blog, email, and social channels. For me, I found that the use of the website and the blog really helps to inform the customer about your product offering and brand point of views. It helps to sell the information, educate them about your brand, and really inspire them to want to have an experience. email, I find, is also a very effective way to entice and update customers to do something, such as a wine offering or an event. The reason that email is so effective is that you have the ability to target it to specific geographic areas, to specific audiences, break it down by varietal. There's just so many different ways to do it that we can really target and drill down into what the customers are really looking for. And then I use social channel in a multitude of ways. The ones that I've really used the most, I've written down here: to create an interactive dialogue, to form and extend customer relationships, engage in the customer conversation, share images and video, utilize existing customers to help talk about your brand experience, to sign up for an event, or to redirect the consumers back to the website for special offerings. All of these are very effective ways to utilize the multiple social channels to keep that relationship going with your customer. So let's talk about how in-person marketing can really help support these efforts. When most people think about in-person marketing, they think of the tasting room, which is true. And we use the tasting room as really a way to introduce new customers to our brand experience and our brand story, and to reinforce returning customers to that experience. So it's really up to the people in the tasting room to really identify the consumer expectations and then exceed those expectations, where every customer walks out and they just go, wow, that was great. Additionally, the tasting room can be an excellent resource guide for really further expanding your brand's history, the values, and the beliefs. And it really allows us to guide the customer to where they want to be in their experience. It allows the tasting room to continue the brand story, to further engage the customer, because we're creating a united front, and to really give the customer a reason to do something by creating value in the conversation. The two most important things are also to make sure at the end of that engagement that we make sure that we've met all the customer's wants and needs, and most importantly, that we say thank you, because it makes the customer feel so valued. And they are. Without them, we would be nowhere. So, with that being said, let's move on to our marketing example. What I put together today is an example of Winery X, although not to be confused with the real Winery X in Napa Valley. Winery X is a 25,000 case production ultra premium winery with two key offerings right now: a Napa Valley Cabernet and a Carnera Chardonnay. The winery is going to be releasing a red blend, which is scheduled to be released in 2005. Now, the goal for management for 2005 is to increase revenues by 15%. So taking that basic example, what we're going to do is we're going to piece together the consumer data and figure out how we're going to do this social and in-person marketing effort. So piecing it together, the consumer data, just at the offset, we realized that the consumer breakdown of this winery is 70% baby boomers and about 30% Gen X and millennial consumers. Now, of the baby boomers, 60% of those baby boomers are men favoring Cabernet, where the remaining 40% of the baby boomer consumers are women split between Cab and Chardonnay. Now, when I look at that, I go, interesting demographics. At first, the consumer breakdown, I'd probably go, wow, I really want to change that percentage of baby boomers to millennials. And then as I look at the baby boomers, there's an interesting female demographic going on, and it's really an opportunity to expand into red blends. So then we move on to the Gen X and the millennials, which is a completely different demographic than the baby boomers. And I noticed that there's a split, a 50-50 split between men and women. The Gen X consumers split between Cab and Chardonnays, where the millennials are leaning more towards Chardonnay. And what I look at here at first blend is this is a really interesting shift in demographics as compared to the baby boomers. The Gen X split between Cab and Chardonnay also presents a really good opportunity to introduce the red blend. And then as I look at the millennials leaning towards Chards and knowing that they love to explore wine, this presents a really interesting opportunity to start to introduce the red blend as a way for the millennials to start to explore into the reds. Okay, so let's dig a little bit deeper. Okay, piecing more data together, we realize that the mailing list has 9,600 names. Okay, that's not bad. The wine club has 1,500 members. That's not bad either. But here's where it starts to get really interesting as you drill into more data. I noticed that with all the data that the winery has not identified the brand ambassadors. And so this is a great opportunity to really drill in to who are those big customers that really rave about us and really see if we can have them help us extend our relationship. I also noticed that in the data that the top 10 customers purchased 20% of the total DTC sales. That's a big statistic. So I'm going to want to identify who those top 10 customers are and see where they live and see if it intersects with the top 10 markets. Because right now, the top 10 markets are the Bay Area, Los Angeles, Phoenix, Dallas, Houston, Iowa City, Chicago, Minneapolis, and Seattle. And the two that stick out in my mind when I read that are the ones from Iowa City and Minneapolis. And I come to find out that of the top 10 customers, there's clusters in both Iowa City and Minneapolis, which explains why those two are not part of the traditional top 10 markets. I also look at the current social channels. We have a current Facebook friend totals of about 2,650 and Twitter followers of about 1,200. Now, in my mind, I go, okay, that's a good start, but knowing that the millennials view social completely different, as well as Gen X, there's an opportunity to really broaden the exposure and move across more channels to reach different demographics. So with this all in place, let's look at what I put together for the social strategy. Now, I broke it into two demographics because baby boomers and Gen Xers and millennials really see things a whole lot different on the social channels. I chose to use email with the baby boomers so I can target men who like Cabernet, women who like Chardonnay, and then really start to target according to where the top 10 markets are. I'm also using Facebook because I can use geo-strategies or geographic strategies and create really interesting sound bites for those people in those markets. I can use Instagram as a highly visual tool to support Facebook and email. And then because the female demographic was so interesting, I checked out Pinterest and come to find out that there's a great deal of female wine consumers on Pinterest. And I just thought, wow, this is a great place to really broaden the experience here for our female consumers. Lastly, I'm choosing YouTube because YouTube is a great video story telling medium. Now for the Gen X and millennials, I'm sticking with Twitter because that's a really good tool for them. I'm dabbling in Facebook to see if I can really tap into the Gen X and millennials and see if they want to interact on that. And I'm also choosing Instagram, Delectable, and Foursquare because the younger generations are really into group sharing, and Instagram, Delectable, and Foursquare are really key places where millennials and Gen Xers can share their information and really go peer-to-peer in terms of their sharing information about the brand. Lastly, I'm using Pinterest again because it's a highly visual and interactive tool and media to pick from, and of course YouTube. Millennials are highly into strong interface features, and 55% of that demographic want to see pictures. So YouTube is an essential tool for Gen X's and millennials when it comes to a social strategy. Now, taking all of that information, let me show you how I can also interact that with two successful examples of what we did. I just need to get my little thing over here. There it is. I wanted to show you two successful examples of wineries who have pulled this together. Jordan at an ultra premium level, and La Crema at more of an everyday wine. Jordan pulls in an excellent example of video storytelling and backs it up on their blog, whereas La Crema has priced themselves as more the weekday wine versus Jordan is the weekend wine. La Crema put together, which I thought was brilliant, just a little visual soundbite right here that says a Chardonnay day turns every day into a week-long soiree, and it gives you 5 different reasons to use their wine. Both brilliant opportunities. And what they can do is reinforce this in person. So let's go on to in-person. Now, again, we're using the in-person experience as really a resource directory to back up all of this social information. So again, the tasting room can utilize the website and the blog to really target an initial introduction and introduce the consumers to the brand's point of view. We can use that tasting opportunity to really get consumers to sign up on the email list because we want all that data. We can also use the tasting room to create such an example and an experience with the brand that the consumer will want to sign up for information on the wine club, and then you have locked in a customer for a really long-term experience, which is every winery's goal. And we can also use that interaction and experience to have the tasting room introduce customers to all the social channels that we're on and get our customers to join in on the conversation and share their experience. One of the best things that I found in tasting rooms is the introduction of iPads and other resources to have that readily available for the tasting room staff to flip it around on the other side of the counter and get the person to interact right there, right then, in that moment, and capture that moment for the consumer, which is so effective. So as I look at all of this, there's some key takeaways from this webinar. And if I can get my little, there it is, my little thing over here, that it's really important for you to piece together your consumer data to really get a full picture of where your consumers are and to meet them where they live and where they search. And that a good online and in-person marketing effort, along with scheduled analytic reviews, are key to a successful venture. And you know, social is really interesting. It happens in real time. So if you hit a stumbling block, it's okay. Don't be afraid to adjust the plan and move forward, because customers are really looking at, if you are hit with a snag, how are you going to react? And if you can react with grace and dignity and really make sure you stay on your brand story, they will move forward with you. Now, with that all being said, if you need some more information, or this is a lot of information that's just hit you in a very quick time, please feel free to go back to the Direct-to-Consumer Wine Workshop webinars. We have ours on YouTube, and you can reread and go over this to get more information. And also, if you want more information on brand strategy, Nick will be teaching a webinar on brand strategy coming up shortly, and I highly recommend it. If you need more information than the webinar, feel free to contact the Direct-to-Consumer Wine Workshop Consultant Network. We're here to help your wineries. We'd love to know what you think. Drop us a line if there's anything that we didn't discuss today. that you'd like to know, we'd be happy to answer your questions. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Sandra.
Thank you so much, Janet. We so appreciate you taking the time out today to share with us some best practices around online and in-person digital marketing. I just really think that you hit quite a few points right on the head. And so as Janet mentioned, we will have her recorded webinar available through our YouTube channel as well as our blog page here at dtcwineworkshops.com. Also, you can find a list of all of our upcoming webinars and events through the website as well, and we look forward to having you attend a couple of upcoming webinars. Next up, we have Mitch with best practices around email marketing on November 11th, and also Nick on November 18th, and quite a few more coming up here in December. The best way to reach Janet, if you have further questions or to schedule a complimentary consultation, is fill out a contact form. We'll be happy to get back to you within 24 hours to set up either a phone call or online meeting where you can learn more about her services as a member of the DTC Consultant Network. Again, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to join us here, and we look forward to receiving your feedback. I do see quite a few chat messages here with questions, and unfortunately we ran out of time, but Janet will be happy to follow up to your questions after today's webinar. Thanks so much and have a wonderful day.